I want to ask you both, actually, because we are now at a time where you can definitely start looking ahead to the summer. We've touched on some of the issues. I think, actually, fitness and tactical issues are also ringing true here, but that's probably more of a coaching managerial point of view. If you had a priority, Ian, I'll come to you first, in terms of the summer transfer market, where would it lie? You said there Liverpool don't have a bottomless pit of money at their disposal. What would be your first that needs fixing now?
I think we need to look at our midfield first. Because our midfield, we need to stop conceding goals. And as poor as our defence has been, I'm hoping these young lads that are coming in, Xhaka and Leone, will help fix that a little bit. Yeah. I expect Joe Gomez. I mean, a lot of people talking about Joe Gomez leaving. I don't really see the point. Just keep him here for another season. Okay. Let him get his 10 years in. He's not going to get much money for him unless he wants to go. But if he wants to stay, I'd keep him. I think the midfield is a massive issue. Performance-wise, I think McAllister's not been on it at all.
Also, who leaves? Because if Jones goes and McAllister leaves, then you have to build a new midfield.
Exactly. But that, as horrible as it seems, that might be an opportunity rather than an issue for us.
Unless, if you get good money for them, then yeah. But if you don't, then as you say, not an endless pot of money to be splashing around.
We definitely need to bring
You've got to solve the problem of Wirtz as well in our midfield.
Yeah, and that is probably by bringing in people around him, and indeed ahead of him, I think it's fair to say as well, because that's been an issue.
We're going to need an attacker as well, aren't we? I'm not talking about pacey wingers. You've got like a TK out until at least...
You can write off next season. Yeah, you need number 9. So we're clearly going for 2 out-and-out number 9s, therefore you need to go and sign one.
And there's people who are confident in Isak's fitness for next season, and they're a lot more confident than I am, because I'm not.
Well, he's giving us no ground for that confidence.
Because people talk about the broken leg, but what went before the broken leg doesn't inspire me for next season fitness-wise.
It's more now than he felt, because he missed the game at Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago with a groin problem, which was a recurring theme up at Newcastle. I was constantly hearing he had a groin issue, and that seemingly will never stop. And as you say, he missed the game of the weekend. I'm not entirely sure, small issue, I'm not entirely sure what it was. But that's 2 examples now, post-broken leg, granted, of him missing games just through minor problems. So yeah, Liverpool definitely need to go into the market for one of them, which kind of speaks to what we're saying here. Like, it's major surgery that's required on this entire squad. Which
results in another transition season, could be similar to this one.
Assuming that they actually do address the whole lot. They might well say, well, we don't have the money to do this, that and the other. We're just going to buy 2 players or whatever. And
there's questions over our director of football and everything at the minute.
It's just a mess, there's no doubt about it.
And to your point, there's 2 lads minimum we know walking out the door for nothing. And we're going to be lucky if we are going to facilitate the Alisson deal. We're not going to get top dollar for him because it's just not out there ultimately anymore for Alisson Becker. Certainly not if he goes where we're talking about, which is Serie A. Likewise with Curtis Jones to a certain extent. And what you said about Joe Gomez is interesting, well, because there's 3 lads there. I just mentioned Gomez, Jones, and Alisson. That Liverpool may well, and they won't get bent over a barrel. They won't sell them off at absolute buttons, because that's not how we operate. But they likely will sort of smooth over a deal and greasing the wheels for it, just because of, again, the respect and the service they've given. But that's leaving us short potentially, in terms of personnel in the squad, but in terms of finances as well.
And that's why one of the reasons I'd like to keep Joe Gomez. And I know he has his injury issues and that, but when he talks well. He's done well at speaking the last couple of weeks when he's come out and he said things. He still seems to think like he's got things to do at Liverpool, I think. And I think we need to keep as many senior people as possible.
Well, that's the other point, isn't it? Experience and leadership, because that's something this squad is severely lacking as well. And I think, I actually wonder with Virgil...
You need links to the past, don't you?
Yeah.
And, that's where you get your continuity from. And you can't afford to get rid of everyone who played under Klopp.
No.
Because then you're starting a whole new culture.
Yeah, and we've seen the evidence of that even, and it doesn't look pretty. But on the Virgil thing, just a final point on it actually, and it just off the back of what you said there about the need and the requirement for leaders and indeed experience. I wonder with Virgil whether some of the problems, I think he's been okay, actually, to be honest with you.
I don't think he's as bad as people say.
No, he scored 2 goals in this game, but with better people around him, I think we'll see a revitalised, maybe Indian summer Virgil, if we haven't seen that already. Yeah. But I just wonder with him whether some of the problems is the mental side of what's happening, actually more than anything else, not instead of the physical. But he played every single minute, so he'd be forgiven if it was physical as well. But the responsibility of needing to play every minute and the weight on his shoulders when it comes to, he knows better than anybody what's going on and how wrong it's going. Then he's got other senior players coming out and doing what they're doing. He must be looking at going, I'm the captain of this entire entity. Like, are people looking at me as a weak link in it and maybe not a strong lead? Like, he must be going through a bit of a nightmare situation himself, really, John.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. But, you know, he is club captain, and that's what comes with it. You know,
comes with his territory, yeah, right.
I don't even. I mean, I can't see them taking the captaincy off him. But even though he's 35 and, you know, clearly not as brilliant as he was 5 years ago, but, you know, I mean, I wouldn't bother me in the slightest if they made Szoboszlai captain and got a bit of, you know. There doesn't seem to be any leadership on the pitch to me, you know, and maybe that's Virgil's so laid back. Yeah. I think he sets the tone.
I don't think he's been laid back the last couple of months. Every time you look at him on the pitch, he's ranting and raving, and he's losing.
I'm thinking about in his style of play. He's still very on the ball, very much looking around, passing it to the side, and you know, he's got one long pass a game in him, and you know, I just think he sets the tone, and it's too slow.
Nah.
He's a leader by example, isn't he? He's never true. He does shout at players, and he is vocal clearly, but he's never struck me as someone when we are on our knees will pick us up by the bootstraps. And obviously there'll be moments people can point to, there'll be goals that people can point to where he has come up and done that for us, delivered. He very nearly did in this game as well, were it not for our defensive vulnerabilities. But he has kind of felt like, well, you're a wonderful world-class operator, an absolute Rolls-Royce for a centre-half. People will follow because of what you are as a player, and your leadership will almost come from just being brilliant in a way. Well, but in hard times, will he grab people?
Jacquet coming through and Leone coming through. You need Virgil there to teach those people how to be as good a centre-back as he is.
Oh, there's no conversation about him with anything else.
You really need him at the club, but you know, he's 35, so how long he can continue and how much of a drop-off he gets season by season.
He's one player who I'd like to see retired at the club. I'd like to see him go and coach at Liverpool. I think he's took more than anyone over the last 10 years. He's probably took more like the Liverpool way to him. He always talks about how much he loves Liverpool and how much he loves the club. The only other person who ever spoke like that was Salah. But Virgil van Dijk has took the club in him, and I'd love to see him retire at the club and then go on to the coaching staff, because I think it would work well for us.
Yeah, there's not even conversation about anything happening with him in the summer for me. Like, he just needs a bit of help around him potentially.
Unless he goes, I can't go with this anymore.
Consistency of your defence, as I said before. You know, a left back who plays every week next to him. Yeah. You know, a centre back on the other side of him who isn't, you know, having nightmares every other game. You know.
Major question marks around his future as well, of course, which we may well find out exactly the direction of travel of that in the coming weeks.
That was a clip from the Final Word show. To check out the entire show, head on over to the Redmen Plus app.